Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. On a beautiful day like today, I wanted to wish each and every one of you, whether you're celebrating with family, by yourself, big or small, a very happy and blessed Diwali. May Mother Lakshmi bless you with all of her choicest blessings. May she light up your life with lots of blessings, good memories, good health, good strength, all of the good things that life has to offer. On this Diwali season, I'm going to be sharing some of the delicious treats that I'm making for my family and I at home. In today's video, I'm going to be showing a quick recap on how I make my white fudge or powder milk fudge, my quick and easy sugar cake recipe. Of course, being that it's Diwali, we have to make a little bit of parsad, and I'm going to go the traditional route and make a ghee parsad. And of course, I'm going to be making some sweet rice as well, because the biggest offering that we give Mother Lakshmi for her offerings is sweet rice, also known as kheer. So if you're interested to see how I put together this set of recipes, please keep on watching. Of course, I have all of the detailed recipes already on my channel for all of these recipes, in fact. So if you want the detailed recipes, I'm going to link them in the description box right below the video so you can see them fully in depth with their own list of ingredients and measurements. Today's video is more of a quick recap, and I'm just here to wish you all a very happy and healthy Diwali. So let's get into it. Today's Diwali episode is being sponsored by Kavita over at Lotus Bazaar. As you all can see, she hooked me up with this amazing Diwali themed sherwani today. Of course, it's pink. On a day like Diwali, pink is the perfect color to wear. If you're interested in men's, women's, children's outfits, accessories, whether you're shopping for a very big or a small event, Kavita has something in store for each and every one of you at a very affordable price. And of course, she has all of the latest Indian fashion there as well. So make sure you check her out. Let her know that Matthew's Guyanese Cooking sent you, and I'm sure she'd be happy to know that you came from my video as well.
Whenever I'm making multiple sweets like this, I like to start off with the thing that takes the longest to cook. So in this case, I'm starting off with my sweet rice or kheer. I usually do this because this is the one that takes a lot of stirring, and you have to really sit there and watch it and babysit it. So into my big karahi with some boiling water, I'm going to be going in with some cinnamon sticks, and I'm going in with some cloves. Like I always say with any of these recipes, go ahead and flavor and spice it however you wish. Now right into the karahi, when the water comes up to the boil, I'm going to be going in with some washed jasmine rice. Now traditionally we would use white rice that we've soaked overnight, but if you're in a pinch and you want a little bit of a shortcut, go ahead and just wash the jasmine rice and add it right in. It cooks much quicker. And all we're going to do is continue to stir this and leave it on a medium heat until the rice bursts or is a little bit overcooked. You want to make sure this happens because if you do not boil the rice enough, when you add the milk in, the rice is not going to burst and fall apart like you want it to. My biggest tip here is to make sure you keep the heat on a moderate heat as you're boiling this. If you put it too high and you rush the process, what's going to happen is it's going to catch or burn at the bottom, and then you're going to end up with little clumps of burnt pieces throughout the sweet rice. Basically what I'm saying here is you want to go nice and low and slow until the rice starts to fall apart and it gets thick, such as this. As you all can see, for the most part, that water that we added in has evaporated and we can start to layer in our milk. So I'm going to start off by going in with my evaporated milk, or what we know as carnation milk. And when you're making sweet rice, you can do a lot of different things with it. You can just use evaporated milk, you could just use whole milk, you could do a mixture of both. You could even use powdered milk mixed in water. Whatever you have on hand and whatever your preference is, go ahead and do that. For me, I like to use my evaporated milk mixed with my regular bottled milk, whether it's whole milk or 2% milk. After you get all of your milks added in, you just want to keep on stirring on that medium to medium low heat. If you see at some point that the sweet rice is bubbling up too much or it's starting to catch at the bottom, make sure you lower the heat, or else you're going to end up with the mess on your hands. This process is definitely a very low and slow process, and it's a labor of love. You have to keep on stirring and keep on making it move so this way the sweet rice doesn't catch. Now at this point, I'm also going to go in with some freshly grated nutmeg. While this is optional, I truly recommend it because it's really, really delicious. And I'm also going to be going in with some freshly ground cardamom or elaichi. I do not recommend you use any type of vanilla extract or essence because some of them contain alcohol. And if you know, whenever we're doing puja or making offerings in the Hindu religion, we do not use anything with alcohol inside. So I would steer away from using any of those extracts, especially if you're making it for religious purposes. So as you all can see, as I'm mixing in all of the spices, it's coming together, it's thickening up very well. In total, sweet rice might take you anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how much you're making or the type of rice you're making as well. So at this point, when it gets nice and thick and everything's mixed together, it's time to go in with your condensed milk. Now I'm also going to make another disclaimer. You can make this as sweet or as not sweet as you wish, but one thing about sweet rice is when you add in the right amount of condensed milk and you make it nice and rich, it is so enjoyable and so delicious. So I'm going to add that in and mix it up. The reason why we don't put the condensed milk in too early in the process is because being that the condensed milk has a lot of sugar content in it, it tends to sink to the bottom of the pot and it makes the sweet rice burn very quick. That's why you add it very much towards the end when it's starting to thick up very well. And now that my sweet rice has thickened up to my liking, I'm going to finish it off with some freshly chopped maraschino cherries. Now these are optional. I know a lot of people don't like adding it into the sweet rice because it makes it pink. However, my family and I love adding it in because of that pink color. And I'm also going to be going in with some soaked raisins. The reason why you soak the raisins is so this way when it goes into the sweet rice, or if you're making parsad or any type of sweets, they don't start to swell or fall apart. It stays nice and whole and it holds its shape. Now once you mix in all of the dried fruits and it thickens up to your liking, you can go ahead and remove this from the heat. As you all can see, it is nice and thick, but it is still a little bit loose. I'm taking it off of the heat right now because as this sits for a couple of hours, it's going to continue to thicken up. I don't like when the sweet rice is way too thick when it's cold, so that's why I like to take it off at this point. Now that I'm done with my sweet rice or my kheer and I can go ahead and set that to the side, I'm going to start working on my parsad. Now this parsad recipe is one that I've formulated and I really like the results, and as you're going to see by the end of the video, it gives you a nice fluffy and not too dry and not too wet parsad. So what I'm doing is I'm starting off in a large bowl and I'm going to make the syrup that we're going to add into the parched flour later on. So in that bowl, I have my finely chopped maraschino cherries and I'm going in with all of my sugar. I love using the brown demerara sugar because of the color it gives the parsad. However, if you only have white sugar, feel free to use that. Now this is my little tip here. Instead of heating up this whole mixture on the stove, I like to add in some boiling hot water on top of the sugar, so this way it starts to melt the sugar very well, and then we don't have to heat up a whole other set of mixture on the stove. Now once the sugar melts after you mix it up for a little bit, it's time to add in your milk. Now I say this every time I make parsad. You can use regular whole milk, you can use evaporated milk, you can use a combination of both, or you can also dissolve some milk powder in some water and use that as well. It is totally up to you and your preferences. I do know that some families use just water, however, that is not our preference in our family. Do whatever suits you. And once all of the ingredients are added in, you're going to go ahead and stir it up very well. I would like to mention that the raisins that I'm going to be using, they're soaking off in a corner. I want them to reconstitute in some water before I add them into my parsad mixture. At this point, we're going to start parching or roasting the flour in our ghee. So what I have to do is start with my heavy bottom karahi or any heavy bottom pot of choice, and I'm going to start to melt my ghee on a medium to medium high heat. When you're making parsad, the ghee has to be nice and hot before you add the flour in. If you do not heat up the ghee enough and make sure it's hot, then the flour is going to start to clump up and you're not going to get a great result in the end. Now once the ghee is nice and hot, it's time to stream in your flour a little bit at a time. Do not just go ahead and dump in all of your flour at once, or else what's going to happen is you're going to get lumps that sometimes do not dissolve. For the most part, my flour doesn't usually have a lot of lumps, but depending on the moisture content in your area or the brand of flour that you're using, it might contain more lumps. It might even be beneficial, depending on where you are, to go ahead and sift the flour into the ghee. However, I know the kind of flour and the climate that I'm in, so I do not usually need to do that. I'm also going to go in with the cinnamon stick. This is totally optional, but I like the flavor that it gives. And being that I mixed in the first set of flour, I'm going to be going in with my next set of flour now, and I'm just going to continue to mix it up. Now when you're making parsad, do not keep it on a high heat the entire time. Lower the heat, keep it on a medium to medium low, and let it take its time until the flour roasts very well in that ghee. You do not want it to burn, because if it burns, the entire product is going to taste very burnt. So my mixture's been on a medium to medium low heat for almost 20 minutes at this point. As you all can see, it has a beautiful golden brown color. The lighting with the camera makes it look a little lighter than it actually is, but it's a little darker than this right now, which is a perfect color for me. So at this point, I'm going to be going in with my freshly ground elaichi or cardamom powder, and I'm going to get that mixed in very well. If you wanted to add in nutmeg or any other kinds of spices, you can also add it in at this point. Now when you're coming up to the end of the process, you have to put the heat on the highest heat, so this way the milk mixture can soak into the flour very well. So when I put it up on the high heat, I go ahead and I add in my soaked raisins. They've just been soaking in some water for about the past 30 minutes. I squeeze out the water and I throw them in. Once you see that those raisins have plumped up, which is only going to take about a minute or two, it's time to go in with the milk mixture. As you can see, all of the raisins are super plumped up, almost like little balls. So at this point, it is time to go in with that milk mixture. Now what I like to do when I'm making a bigger batch is I like to add in half of my milk mixture first, stir it in, and then I'll go in with the rest. Remember what I was saying, parsad and all of these sweets are all a labor of love. You have to make sure you're taking your time, because if you rush the process, the result doesn't always come out the best in the end. I would also like to mention that when you do the milk mixture like I did by not heating it up on the stove, it cools down this mixture just a little bit, and it gives you a little more time to stir, and it allows you to not have to rush with the mixture. When you heat up that milk mixture on the stove and it's very hot and you add it into this hot mixture, it bubbles up and splatters everywhere, and if you're a beginner in the kitchen, it's probably not the best thing. So this method is definitely better and easier and a little safer depending on who you are. So I'm adding in the rest of my milk mixture now, and I'm just going to keep on stirring. It's still on a high heat. I'm going to let it catch itself and then let that flour mixture soak up all of that milk very well. And as you continue to stir, the parsad is going to start to leave the sides of the pot, and that is how you know your parsad is done. Now this parsad mixture right here is absolutely perfect for me, because when you let this sit for a couple of hours, especially if you're doing puja, what happens is it continues to dry out more and more. And one thing I cannot stand is a very crumbly and dry parsad, because it's almost like it's choking you. This right here is super moist and it's super delicious when you're eating it. So at this point, I'm going to transfer it into a bowl and I'm going to set it aside. Now at this point, since my parsad and my sweet rice are done, I'm going to go ahead and start to make my easy sugar cake. Now I say easy sugar cake because I'm not making the traditional one where you have to continue to stir and stir and stir. I'm going to be doing the one with the already shredded coconut that comes from the grocery store. So in my heavy bottom pot, I'm going in with some water, and I'm going to be going in with some brown sugar. If you do not want to use the brown sugar, you can also use white sugar. And once you get that sugar added in, it's time to flavor it up a little bit. So you know, whenever we make sugar cake, we add in a nice amount of freshly grated ginger to get that nice spicy taste. And I'm also going to be going in with lots of freshly grated nutmeg. For us and our family, these are the flavorings for a proper sugar cake. If you wanted to go in with anything else, that is definitely up to you and your preferences. And once you get all of your ingredients added in, it's time to go ahead and bring this mixture up to a boil. I like to keep it on about a medium to medium high heat and let it take its time. I don't like to rush it, because if you overcook the mixture, it'll crystallize too quick. So once you see all of these fine bubbles and it's bubbling up on the sides of the pot and it starts to get a little bit thick, it's time to start testing it a little. So I like to take a little bit on the side of my spoon, let it cool down a bit, and take it in between my fingers. Once you see that it's pulling one string, this is your indication to go ahead and start moving with the process. I'm also going to lower my heat at this point and keep it on a medium to medium low heat, so this way it does not overcook. At this point, I'm going to be going in with my shredded coconut flakes. I got these from Trader Joe's. If you wanted to get them from another store, Walmart also sells them. Now these are the unsweetened coconut flakes. If you're using the sweetened coconut flakes, I find that the dish ends up being way too sweet. Once you add those flakes in, you also want to go in with your red food coloring, and once that coloring is added in, it's time to go in with some milk powder. What the milk powder does is it allows the whole mixture to hold together very well, and it also gives some nice richness that a regular sugar cake would have, being that we usually make regular sugar cake with lots of milk. So I'm going to continue to stir this in. When you use my recipe that's already on my channel, I'll have it linked in the description box below. But when you're using it and you're adding in the milk powder, don't dump all of the milk powder in at once. You're going to add in a little bit at a time and continue to stir, because sometimes the mixture will take more or less than what I have measured out. It just depends on your stove and how wet the mixture was when you started to add in the milk powder. Now once the milk powder is added in, it is time to go ahead and transfer this onto a baking tray that I've lined with some parchment paper. I do this just for easy cleanup and easy cutting up of the sugar cake when it's done to take it out of the pan. You have to work pretty quick at this stage. Once you get it in the tray, go ahead and smooth it out as best as you can. If you want to, when it cools down a bit, you can take some water in your hands and you can just pat down the top very, very well until it's nice and smooth. Now being that the sugar cake is setting up, I've set that aside and it's time to work on my white fudge or something like a barfy. So in my heavy bottom pot, I'm going to be going in with some water again, and I'm going to be going in with some white sugar. Now when you're making a white fudge or a barfy or anything like that, it's nice to use white sugar because it keeps the product very light in color. If you use the brown sugar, which you definitely can, just know that the product is going to be tan or brown in color. Now into this mixture, I'm going to be going in with some freshly ground ginger. Like I said, I'm going for more of a barfy taste with this recipe, so I'm adding in lots of ground ginger. And once you mix in that freshly grated ginger, it's time to go in with some cardamom or elaichi. This is what I like to add into my white fudge. If you want to add any other flavorings, feel free to do so. And just like with the sugar cake that we made earlier, you have to go ahead and test the sugar mixture just like we did before. When you see all of these fine bubbles start to form, you go ahead and you put a little bit on the back of the spoon, let it cool down slightly, and you're going to feel it in between your fingers. Now at this stage, the mixture was not ready yet. It's definitely nice and sticky, but it's not pulling a full string by itself, so I have to boil it a little longer. So after a couple more minutes, you can see that it started to pull the string very well, and it's nice and thick. So at this point, I want to go ahead and lower my heat just a little bit so this way it doesn't overcook on me, and we're going to start to add in our milk powder. Now just like when we were making that sugar cake before, do not just dump in all of that milk powder all at once. You have to make sure you're going in with it a little bit at a time. I would like to mention again, when you're using this recipe, sometimes it takes more or less milk powder depending on how wet the mixture is when you are lowering down the heat or when it's done cooking. So I'm going to stir in this batch and then I'm going to see if it needs more, and I'm going to continue to do so as it thickens up. So I've added in the last of my milk powder here and I'm just giving it a quick stir, and this right here is the perfect texture. I say this again because once you go ahead and empty it out into your tray, it's going to thicken up very nicely. I like to go ahead and transfer the mixture on a tray with parchment paper again, just so this way it's easier to cut and take out of the pan. And once you go ahead and smooth it out very well, it's time to go on with some sprinkles. You can top this with anything that you want. You can top it with dried fruits, nuts of choice, or different types of sprinkles. So while my white fudge or my barfy is setting off to the side, it's time to go ahead and start cutting up the sugar cake. As you all can see, within the time that it took me to make the white fudge, my sugar cake has set up so nicely. It's nice and it's not too stiff and crumbly. It's a little bit soft in the middle, but it's nice and crunchy on the outside, just the way I wanted it to be. You can cut them as big or as small as you want. I'm going on the smaller side today because I'm going to be sharing these out as part of my Diwali treats. So as you all can see, all of my Diwali treats are done cooking. It really didn't take that long to make everything. Once you have all of your ingredients prepped and you have a list of what you're going to make, it makes it so much easier. So this is what the sweet rice looks after about an hour or two of sitting, and as you all can see, it's thickened up even more. And the longer you let it sit and the longer it cools, because this was still a little bit warm, it's gonna get even thicker. That's why I take it off the stove when I do. So like I said, I'm packing a couple of Diwali treat bags for my neighbors and some friends. So what I'm gonna do is I put the sweet rice in its own container, and I'm going to go ahead and put some parsad in a Ziploc bag. If you had other containers for it, you definitely could put them in a container as well. As you all can see, this parsad is super nice and fluffy, and it's nice and smooth, exactly what you want. Make sure that when you're making your parsad, it's not too crumbly and it's not too dry. This right here is perfect. It stays nice and soft, and it's not too dry or choking anybody when they eat it. And just look at how amazing this quick sugar cake looks. It's not too stiff and crumbly, and it's not too soft at all. It's the perfect texture, and these are so much better than the regular sugar cake for sharing out because they set up so well. I'm also going to go ahead and add in some pieces of my white fudge into that bag, and this right here, in my opinion, is the perfect Diwali treat bag. My neighbors and my family ended up being so happy with these delicious treats. And that's how quick and easy it was to prep all of my treats for Diwali 2025. My family and everybody who took part in these amazing treats truly enjoyed them. I hope you all give these recipes a try.
So once again, I wanted to wish you and your family a happy and a healthy Diwali. I hope you all enjoyed today. I hope you all had something sweet to eat. You shared a meal with somebody. No matter how big or small the celebration was, it's not about the size of it. It's about how much you enjoyed it and how content you are with all of the amazing things that we have in this life already. May Mother Lakshmi bless each and every one of you at home. I hope you enjoyed today once again. And I hope you enjoyed all of the amazing recipes that I shared with you all. Once again, as a quick reminder, I have everything linked in the description box below this video to each and every one of the specific recipes that was shared in today's video as well. Once again, a big shout out to Kavita over at Lotus Bazaar. If you all are interested in checking her out, I'm gonna have her contact information right here on the screen, and of course it's going to be linked in the description box right below this video. So make sure you check everything out, click on that drop down menu, scroll down, and everything will be listed there for your convenience. If you enjoyed the video today, please don't forget to give it a nice big thumbs up. Please go ahead and subscribe to my channel by clicking that red subscribe button. And of course, right next to it, you have to click the bell notification icon so you're notified every time I post one of my newest videos. And of course, drop some comments down below. Wish me a happy Diwali. Let me know what you cooked, what you made, how you celebrated, and maybe drop down what you want to see next on my channel. I'll see you all again in my next video. Bye, everyone.